own teammate Raikkonen. So this is a must-win race for Massa if he wants to launch his championship campaign. There's a look at the starting grid. Massa and Hamilton on the front row. Raikkonen, there's some suspicion that maybe he, like Massa, was running a little bit lighter on fuel yesterday in qualifying, trying to get an all-Ferrari front row. And then what happened was he made a bit of traffic on his qualifying laps, which is why you've got that half-second gap between them. If that is the case, he's going to be very compromised here this afternoon. Alonso there in 4th place. He owns this circuit. He's won the last 2 Grand Prix here, but 2 BMWs right behind. Again, very strong. Could we see the first points today for Red Bull and Mark Webber in the 2007 campaign? Big cheer for Anthony Davidson there, 13th on the grid for Super Aguri. Tremendous performance from him, ahead of the 2 Hondas of Barrichello and Jenson Button. But as Davidson was saying yesterday, he does tend to be able to out-qualify the works cars, but they seem to have a better race pace on a Sunday afternoon. Let's see.
As the formation lap begins, if you do enjoy this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, as it took us quite a while to actually do this video, as I had to obviously go through the 2007 Bahrain Grand Prix and obviously edit out to make this a 20-minute video. So yeah, I would greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, here comes the 2007 Bahrain Grand Prix.
Grand Prix about that win. The Bahrain Grand Prix is go! Hamilton on the left is a bit slow away. Massa's got Raikkonen behind him. Watch for the BMW attacking. And look at Alonso already up the inside of Raikkonen. A cracking start by him. Hamilton goes through. Is there any contact? Raikkonen attacks him and goes deep. He's on the inside, but Hamilton holds it. Alonso's back into 4th place with the 2 BMWs behind him. One car just flying off the racetrack, but he's back on again, and Massa is leading. Here comes Raikkonen again on Alonso, side by side. The 2 men who've already won races so far this season, having a great scrap over 4th. At the moment, it's Alonso. Big crash at the back. One of the Hondas is involved in that, and I think a Red Bull as well. It's Jenson Button, car number 7, Jenson Button, and I think that's Scott Speedy's hit.
Yeah, it's the Toro Rosso rather than the red.
Final corner. Where is Raikkonen? He's a long, long way behind Alonso and not able to capitalize. He must have been asleep or something on the restart. Instead, we've got the 3 leading cars, nose to tail. Is Hamilton going to attack Massa straight away? He comes down the inside. He thinks better of it. Meanwhile, Fisichella is having a go at Kubica. Kubica on the inside, Fisichella on the outside, and Kubica holds the line.
Yes, that shows you what we were talking about on the grid. The Ferraris have got such a straight line speed advantage in the second half of the straight. Hamilton with the perfect slipstream position and couldn't do anything with it. Went to have a look in the braking zone, and Massa super late on the brakes too. So that Ferrari looking pretty handy.
So the 2 McLarens circulating together. Raikkonen's trying to come across.
They've just been to the back of the garage to the telemetry screens to see if they can see anything. I'll keep a watching brief on that for you, but just quickly on Ralf Schumacher, he's radioed the team he believes Liuzzi overtook him
all weekend in this McLaren. Even though this is a track he's been so strong on in the past, Fernando Alonso winning here in 2005, repeating that victory last year. And we're riding on board. One on his debut with Ferrari. Not quite at the races so far this weekend, slower than Massa in qualifying and in a few of the practice sessions as well.
Drive through for Liuzzi for overtaking under the safety car. Probably bolted down the right-hand side into the pit lane and took some others to gain some advantage. And so all of the good work he did by getting through the phase with the harder tyre.
And the most important thing that happened at the original start was that Massa and Hamilton got away first, and that Alonso from 4th on the grid leapfrogged Raikkonen on the opening lap, which is why he is in front of him now, having started 4th on the grid. Alonso up into 3rd place. Other notable movers, Heikki Kovalainen from 12th up to 9th place, and David Coulthard making his way through like a hot knife through butter. From 21st place on the grid, Coulthard is now 12th and looking very racy.
2 cars out of the Grand Prix, Jenson Button and Scott Speed, who tripped over each other in turn 4 on the opening lap. For sure, Alonso is not as fast as Hamilton. Hamilton is the man taking the fight to the leading Ferrari at the moment. I wonder who's got the strongest head out of, and there's Alonso really struggling to hang on to the back end of that McLaren. I just wonder who's got the strongest head.
It's Hamilton's to give himself a tiny bit more breathing space. You can see that Raikkonen is getting impatient now. He hasn't tried any kind of move yet on Alonso, and he will be very wary because both of these men know they're fighting for a world championship. They both intend to be the 2 that duke it out at the end of this season. Massa obviously wants to be part of that battle as well, and who knows what Hamilton may do this season, whether he's still in touch at the end of the year. But for sure, the two main protagonists are going to be these two, and that's why they're being so cagey with each other at this stage of the race. No doubt, though, Raikkonen being held up.
Yeah, quite what Raikkonen was doing on that after the safety car. We just know that if Hamilton can go further, and I mean, for every 4 laps around here, that's the equivalent of about 0.3 of a second per lap. So if Lewis can go 3, and Kimi really just having to fight the car to keep it on the road for himself and to avoid the back end of Fernando Alonso, is now having to really give the braking zones a lot of respect in that McLaren to avoid locking the front wheels and losing the back on turn in. He'll be delighted to drop by the pits at the appropriate time to get a new set of tyres, I'm sure.
Well, you remember I mentioned early on that the Ferrari doesn't really behave quite as well in traffic as the McLaren. There's no suggestion that's what went on there. I think that was a braking issue for Raikkonen more than anything else. You can see it's got nothing really to do with aerodynamic effect, but one of the issues definitely for the Ferrari is it's more marginal on the cooling, and it is very hot here in the desert of Bahrain, and that was an issue for them in Malaysia last week. They had to turn the engines down a little bit to make sure they would finish, and Raikkonen, sitting in the hot slipstream of Alonso, will be concerned about the cooling. Massa's in a much better situation with clear air at the front going into the radiators of his Ferrari. Hamilton responds to Massa. A new fastest lap for Lewis Hamilton, 1:34.6, 3.5 of a second faster than Massa. He's scythed into the gap. Hamilton is pushing to the ragged edge. This is unbelievable Grand Prix racing. All of these guys, well, particularly those two front guys, are absolutely flat out.
And these are very difficult conditions. There's a line on the racetrack that has grip. Move slightly away from it, as Nico Rosberg found out, and you're in no man's land, literally. Then you're across the desert because it's so sandy offline. That's not a criticism. It's a challenge for everybody around. It's the same for everybody, and it's good to see a different environment. But it really is testing the accuracy, really, of these drivers.
Look at the chromed helmet of Jarno Trulli. He's following one of the Renaults. Looks like he dived through that. Kovalainen, Trulli taking the place away from Kovalainen then. Under braking.
Kovalainen must have locked a wheel or something. He kind of gave up, didn't he, on that one? Must have had a little problem early on before the corner arrived. So Kovalainen then back into 10th place with Coulthard on the back of him now. And well, we haven't mentioned it, but David Coulthard has also passed Alex Wurz in the middle of all of that action. We've missed that move, sadly, but there is the net result of it as Coulthard bears down on fellow engine runner Kovalainen, Heikki Kovalainen. They're running 10 and 11 at the moment. Great opening stint for David Coulthard.
Yeah, he's done really well. He lost a 1.5 seconds in the process of overtaking Alex Wurz. Hamilton, another new fastest lap, another 0.2 of a second faster than Massa. But you can see the problem is his straight line speed, as you were saying earlier, isn't it? He just can't get close enough.
Absolutely relentless, though. He's not going to let Massa have a comfortable afternoon. And I cannot see why Alonso would drop 9 seconds as a tactic just to hold up Kimi Raikkonen. It's just too much, and also because he's wrestling the car so badly that it looks like he's just struggling at this phase rather than any kind of cunning plan. But, they're lapping about 7/10 away from the two leaders, and Coulthard pits for Red Bull, as does Alex Wurz for Williams and Ralf Schumacher for Toyota. There they are.
Yep, Coulthard had got in front of Wurz.
Behind Kovalainen, Coulthard pitted, and we're about to see. So Kovalainen going for the inside line to defend. Oh, bit of contact there. They both scamper off onto the tarmac, and it's Rosberg who gets on the throttle earliest and hardest to take that place. There we go again. Rosberg thinks he's got the turn in. Kovalainen says, "You're not passing me around the outside." A little bump. You're okay if you hit pretty much square on like that. Kovalainen deciding to take back to the track earlier than Rosberg. Rosberg getting the better purchase on the runoff area and takes further. It does seem as if it's game on, although there's an army of red overalled men down in the pit lane expecting a Ferrari.
Yeah, it looks like Hamilton went for light in qualifying. Clearly the strategy was to get up there and mix it with the Ferraris and see whether possibly there might be a chance to do another miracle start. It didn't work out this time though for him.
Alonso leads this Grand Prix from Kimi Raikkonen, so they were both fueled up a little bit heavier, which may explain a bit more of why they're struggling for grip and pace in the early phases, but they're still...
Hamilton had to follow, but he certainly wasn't dropped in the opening phase of the Grand Prix. Alonso able to get in front of Raikkonen though in the first part, and then we had a safety car that came out for an incident in which Jenson Button and Scott Speed were eliminated. But really through to the first round of pitting up Raikkonen in the opening phase, while Massa and Hamilton got away in this phase of Prix, and clearly they're improving this car all the time. And how long will it be before BMW become a championship force and possibly a race-winning force?
Yep, and Heidfeld once again, he's 15 seconds ahead of his teammate Kubica, who's 7th at the moment. Heidfeld really showing vengeance, of course. And both those Red Bulls looking handy this afternoon. David go through because his race is pretty compromised at the moment, and that's exactly what he does. So Mark Webber then doing the sensible team play, because he's really hurting for rear grip, and they'll be able to do nothing about that till the next stop at best.
Chance of points here today for Red Bull, no doubt about that. They're battling with Fisichella for points, of course a few other drivers, Davidson as well. There could be one or two to be had here for David Coulthard. On a real dogged drive from him.
He's really on fire today, DC. He's up for it. So let's see how far he can get. A long way to go, 30 laps to go yet. And this is Mark very maturely and sensibly just getting out of the way, because he knows he's got a faster teammate with a car in a better condition. The Red Bull have had that fuel flap problem. It compromised Coulthard's first run yesterday before the gearbox blew itself to bits, and that's several times now.
So hopefully it won't cost him too much. Davidson then pits from 6th place in the Super Aguri. That's the highest he's been so far up the field in his Formula One career. I've got quite a lot of his family out here this weekend to support him. I know they're very proud of him, and he's doing a great job for them this weekend. 13th on the grid, he's run as high as 6th. There is Anthony Davidson, and he is genuine contender for a point here this afternoon. He's battling Fisichella, Coulthard, Webber, Trulli for that final 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, his heart just sank though, didn't it? He came out of the pit lane and saw that lot in front of him. So that's a shame for Anthony. A load of, mind you, very fast cars he'll be pleased to be in the company of, including Works Renault driver Heikki Kovalainen. Coulthard just took a second out of the other Works Renault driver Fisichella for 8th place.
Bear in mind they've come from what was the Minardi team, so they've got a long way to come forward through the field. And Gerhard Berger was talking on Friday night about his plans for this team, saying that he really wants to move them up the field and make them more respectable, but they've got a lot of work to do because they start from quite a low technical base. On board with Heidfeld.
And he'll be smiling. Alonso couldn't make the apex of turn 1. They've got a spiker ahead of them who's been given plenty of wave blue flags, but to be fair to Sutil, he's not exactly all over the... Alonso's not exactly all over the back of him, is he?
Of Alonso and Lewis Hamilton and the way that they controlled Ferrari. Just 23 laps remaining in this Bahrain Grand Prix, the 3rd round of the 2007 Formula One World Championship.
A difficult afternoon. The race finished now. Alonso, Raikkonen and Hamilton would all have 22 World Championship points, with Massa on 17. Alonso would be edging it on countback for leading the World Championship, but they'd be on absolutely identical points.
Nice stat, which of course slowed him down on the straight quite a lot, all the extra drag. He is still in a points-paying position, in 7th place. He's a long way behind Robert Kubica, who's 6th, but he's setting his own personal fastest laps, lap after lap at the moment, Mark Webber, and heading for Red Bull's first points of the championship season so far. Here's a look so far this season on race pace. This is his first opportunity. He started in front of Barrichello on the grid, but Barrichello is in front of him at the moment.
And that's Mark Webber out of the Grand Prix as well, so both Red Bulls fall out of possible point-scoring positions. And bad news for them. It's Davison chasing Alex Wirtz in the Williams for position, for 12th position. Massa, another, well, remains fastest man on a 34.0. Hamilton staying out on a 34.4 as Alonso pits from what currently is 2nd place.
Yep. Davidson has got in front of Barrichello, in fact, so it is the first time he's been able to do that to a Works Honda. In a Grand Prix, in comes Alonso, then it's not his day, but in time-honoured Alonso fashion, as he makes an adjustment to the front wing, he will be driving for percentage game now to get the maximum points he can get out of it. Here's a look at the graphic to show you where Heidfeld is. He was under pressure from Heidfeld. This is going to be close, and this is for 4th place in the Grand Prix, and Heidfeld's got it. Look at that. He was in front before, of course, and he's held onto it nicely. So now we'll see what Alonso can do in the final. On his visor, on his, on the camera lens as well, coming off the back of Davidson's car. That's what Hamilton's seeing.
That's why he lost the 3/10 then. He'd also be nervous there'd be oil on the racetrack, but he'll have to give his visor a good old wipe. He won't have any rip-offs left on the visor at this stage of the Grand Prix. And Ted has news.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the McLaren engineers have been on the radio to both drivers, telling them that there's oil down from, well, you saw it turn 1, but where did Davidson pull off roundabouts at turn 8 or 9? So it's going to be very tricky around there. But the question they're asking themselves at McLaren down here.
Still a haze behind that, a blue haze behind that car of Lewis Hamilton's.
Once again, Hamilton just a 1/10.5 of a second faster than Felipe Massa. It's like water torture for him. Just 1 lap to go. It looks like Massa's got this one wrapped up. Alonso, though, may well have a go at Heidfeld. Depends how brave he's feeling, really. Raikkonen has not been able to close up on Hamilton in this final phase. He was coming for a while, but Hamilton has been supreme on this harder tyre.
And it's going to be very tight at the top of the championship as the two teammates have overturned their stronger rivals so far this year. Massa moving to the side of the track.
Well, it was a must-win race for Felipe Massa to get himself into the championship hunt, and he has delivered. Felipe Massa wins the Bahrain Grand Prix, his first victory this season, the 3rd of his career. But what a hit at Ferrari to not to lose touch and have all the eggs in the basket of your other driver. That is the classification then. Hamilton just 2.3 seconds behind at the end. Kovalainen, no points for him today. 2 Williams in the 10th and 11th.
Kovalainen only 7 seconds behind his teammate, though, Fisichella, so Renault still struggling pretty much for pace there. But yeah, 80 seconds off the lead.
That's a lot for the car which has dominated here in Bahrain for the last 2 seasons in the hands of Fernando Alonso. So from race winners to 80 seconds behind the race winners in 1 season. That's how Formula 1 changes. There's the rest of the runners. Davidson picking up a finish, 16th. Could have been so much better. He was running 6th at one point, but well, he lost his engine, didn't he, in the closing stages.